So this is the Trident Miniatures HO Scale Strikers after painting and assembly. We have two different variants. This one is the M1126 Infantry Carry Vehicle, while the other one is the M1133 MEV Medical Ambulance. So first we're going to take a look at the ICV. This is the standard typical striker. I use the Tamiya NATO Green rattle can for the base coat, as well as Vallejo for brush painting the wheels, black and silver for the headlights, and orange for the turn indicators. There's a lot of separately applied details. Lifting shackles at the bottom. There's a lot of these tiny little bumps that are molded on. Hatch over here separate, some vents, and I also folded up the side view mirrors, which you can do for train loads. Here we got some more separately applied parts, the grenade launcher. There's also this basket on the side. This is actually made of etched metal brass, so you have to cut it out and fold it up into a box, which this turret ring is also brass. In the rear we have some shelves filled with jerry cans, got the door back there, and some tools on the side. In hindsight, I probably should make the jerry cans a different color because everything is just green. This model is also detailed with suspension, which is modeled underneath on the inside of it. You can see right there. And here's how it looks like on the bottom. There's a lot of separate parts you have to add. Some are really tiny and fragile. They're easy to break, so they'll just fall off. So that's why I'm missing some of these axles here. It is definitely a lot harder than you think. For example, like in this roof, this hatch, it actually does not align in this thing. If I did, there would be a huge gap in the front, which would not look good at all. We also got this tiny little loop made of brass. Some more brass parts are these rods, which are folded down. You could fold them up if you wanted to. And these rows over here, they're actually made of brass as well. Now let's go take a look at the MEV, the Medical Evacuation Vehicle, signified by the red cross here at the front and the back. So for the MEV, I actually painted the lifting shackles silver because I did see a picture of that. This is different from the ICV because it has these shells, so these are actually made of brass, and they have extremely small triangular pieces, which I did lose the one in the middle, but I'm not the only one having trouble with this. Now I'm going to spin this guy to see the back. It's similar to the ICV. We got the same jerry cans over here, tail light, as well as lifting shackles, and the door, which has the red cross. And here's what it looks like on the opposite side. We got another red cross over here, and there are some storage shelves and boxes on the side, nicely detailed. And now let's go spin this guy all the way to the front, where there is a small red cross on the top. It doesn't actually come with the kit. I printed it out with photo printer, which is glossy, and then I tried out this regular inkjet printer with thick paper, and it turns out to be a more accurate shade of color. The lines are also sharper and crisp. Now I do think I got an older version of this model kit because it does not have the side view mirrors nor the bars over the headlights, so that is kind of disappointing because that gives the Stryker its look. So since it's used as an ambulance, it has this enlarged section here in the back to make it different from the regular Stryker, and here's what it looks like from down below. And now we're going to take a look at Trident's M1A2 Set V3. This is a modern configuration of the Abrams main battle tank. And here's a view of it all around, and it's different from your typical Abrams tank because it has the APS trophy system, as well as on the sides we got the TUSK reactive armor. So the trophy active protection system is this mechanism right over here, and it fires out countermeasures to intercept missiles and RPGs, which is really useful in modern day combat against ATGMs. We also got the TUSK reactive armor here on the side. It basically explodes on impact to minimize hull penetration. It also features crows, which is a remote control gun, and also my favorite feature is the turret shield, which you'll see in a lot of modern day Abrams tanks. So in the front we have some lifting shackles at the bottom, some headlights, the 120mm gun, and the coaxial machine gun, which is articulated so you can move it up or down to whatever pose you want to do. The turret can rotate a full 360 degrees, so if you want it as a train load, face it towards the back. So here's what it looks like on the inside. It's basically like a peg and a hole system, same thing as Roco. And you can also see the driver's hatch down below. We've got a towing cable, a toolbox, smoke grenade launcher, lots of molded on details, some roof hatches for the tank crew, some more boxes on top, antenna, and baggage which are separately applied parts. I've also added a spare wheel in the front, break up the color, and the commander's thermal sight right behind it. In the back we have the gas turbine engine, some tail lights, and I brush painted this with Vallejo. There are also some hooks down at the bottom. I also painted some of these top vents brown just to add in some weathering. There's a lot of molded on details here. So one interesting thing you might not realize about the Abrams tank is just how asymmetrical the turret is. You can see one side is longer than the other, and it's actually a common feature in main battle tanks. And here's what the bottom looks like, just if you're wondering. Now the treads are easily removable. You just pull them down, and it's being held by this peg, and it fits into this slot, which you can slide back in just like this, which is nice and easy, although my treads are a little bit crooked. Now I'm going to compare it to my other Abrams tank, the RTTX and the Roco. So first off with the Roco, I found that they share the same mold, at least for the bottom part. It's almost exactly the same. So I think Trident based theirs off Roco and modified it. The design on Trident's actually more accurate because they have like this sort of equal triangle shape, while on Roco it's a bit too long, and also the tread detail is more accurate on Trident's. Since it is a set V3, it also has this additional turret basket on the back of the original turret basket. It also does have additional frontal armor in the front of the turret compared to the other Abrams. And here's how they look like from the front. You can have a nice side-by-side view of it. So now that we have our Abrams tank and the Strykers, we'll need some new flat cars. So this is a Walthers mainline 89-foot channel side flat car. It is JTTX with the old TTX logo. On the end we have a coupler with a trip pin, some molded on grab irons, some on the side as well, and some holes probably for a gangplank. The yellow color is molded on, so if you see these little things are kind of rough, you can actually shave it down. But that's actually what I did later on. So down the car we got printed text right there. Then we have JTTX as well as the road number. It's a plate F car, and here it talks about the load limit, how much it weighs unloaded. It says it's built in 1963. Then we have the Speed Lines logo for TTX, very cool. In the back we have some more information, consolidated stencil, and a handbrake, which is designed for piggyback flat cars. And here's how it looks like on the end, as well as this side of the car. It's pretty much the same thing, we just don't have a handbrake. So the top of the car is pretty empty and flat, and here's how it looks like on the bottom. It's kind of bare bones, but they still do have some air brake detailing as well as some ribbing. Before we review the car, we need to actually install the grab irons, which come like this, which you add for the ends and the sides. You can just push them in, although for this one I had to drill it from the top. Alright, so now I'm going to take a look at the Atlas Master 89-foot RTTX flat car. So let's start here from the front. Here's what it looks like. We added all the grab irons that were installed, and there also is a coupler cut lever, and there is a Kato metal knuckle coupler, which does have a nice length to it. Then we got some small printed text, a stirrup step, and lots of little details. Got a jack pad right above the bogie, and some more printed text here. Next to that we have a panel that says RTTX, the road number, and next to that load limit, and then the type of trailer they use. And then we have the old TTX Speed Lines logo. Now one thing that surprised me when I got it is that these panels are actually 3D, like they stick out, they're not part of the hull itself. I feel like that makes it look a lot cooler. Anyways, down the rest of the car we got this nice long air brake system which connects with the handbrake up here. Then we got some more printed details over here, including consolidated stenciling right there, and the handbrake is finely detailed. Here's a view of it from the side and the end of the car. It's just like the same as the other side. And here's a view of the opposite side of it. It's pretty much the same thing, just no handbrake on this side and I guess different air brake detail underneath. And on top there's these orange rectangles where the trailer hitches go, and they're actually not equidistant. It says stay clear of orange area, and there are these holes for the trailer hitch pegs to fit in, and here's the middle one, and here's the one at the end. So now let's go take a look at it from down below. There's a lot of these air brake system detailing, very nicely finely detailed. There's a lot of pipes and lines going across. You can see the air reservoir tanks, and all of this detail goes throughout the car. There are even some support beams down below. Definitely a lot more detailed than the Walthers. It also came with these 4 trailer hitches, which are pre-assembled. They are detailed with some side printing, so that's pretty cool. And here's the other style of the trailer hitch. This one you put in the middle. It also comes with this folded down version of it, and you can see the pegs down below that connect. So here's how they look like with two 45-foot trailers from Walthers. Unfortunately, they have to face different directions, because if you do the same direction, it's not going to work with the trailer hitch. Alright, so now I'm going to compare all the trailer train TTX flat cars. It's actually fascinating the differences between these cars, even among the same brand like Atlas. These are both RTTX, but they look different. They have different couplers, they have different colors. Every single TTX cars, they have the logo in different places. Why do they do that? Though Atlas does do a better presentation of the TTX logo. It's nice and white and black, while Walthers it's a bit faded and a little grayish. Also, the way they do their handbrakes is completely different. This one's hanging off the side, while this one's more vertical. And Walthers looks similar, but it looks less detailed. Now here's a view of the end of the car. Here are the Walthers. It's kind of bare bones. And then here are the Atlas flat cars. They are more detailed. So here we loaded up the Strykers on the flat car. Ideally there would be 3 per car, but we just have 2, so we're going to stick with that. The wheels fit snug within the channel walls. Here's how they look like from the side view. So here's the M1A2 Set V3, and I put this on this trailer train flat car because I do not have another DODX flat car. So yeah, I just have a 360 view of it. Spring Mill Depot's kind of sold out of everything. So here is the Roco Hemet. Here's how it fits with the Walthers. You see the channel wall right there, and the wheels, they do stick above it. And here's how the Stryker looks like with the Atlas, and that was one concern I had. I was afraid these walls were going to be too tall and cover up the side of the wheel and look off, but it turns out to be fine. So here's the HO scale military army ready to go, but we'll need to do one more thing. So why did I get these Kato Unitrack in different lengths and they're all short? Well, the reason is if you use the Kato HV2 to try and make a rail yard, you're going to end up with this little gap here. It is an extremely small distance, but there's no way it's going to connect, so you need to use these smaller tracks to fit. Alright, so for my final thoughts, I think Trident Miniatures is pretty great for making these military model kits. For HO scale, they're actually from Austria, that's why the instructions came in German. So I think the Stryker and the Abrams tank is a nice addition to your HO scale army. Now these are resin model kits, so they're not going to be perfect, there's going to be some imperfections. I actually had to fill in a hole that was in my Stryker and two in the front of my Abrams tank, which I filled in with some model putty and sanded it down. Resin kits are harder to do than plastic because you actually have to cut out all the pieces and they might not cut out in the best way. They might just break apart where it's not supposed to, so then you have to glue it back in. And I had some issues just trying to get this to line up right, so this part is floating a little bit, and also the wheels are kind of like uneven. I'm still pretty new to building model kits, so if I built this next time, I'd probably do a lot better job, especially with the Stryker since the instructions are in black and white. So I had to kind of figure out where things are, and I found the best way to do it is just do one piece at a time. The Abrams tank in comparison is actually quite easy to build. The turret's actually all one big piece, and the body is a big piece as well. And before I bought it, I was wondering if the TUSK reactive armor was like a separate piece, because I sort of wanted like a normal Abrams tank, but it turns out that is permanently stuck to the body. I do like the fact that they added the turret shield though, because you will see that all the time. If you see Abrams tank in rail fanning videos, they always have this modern turret, and sort of like the only place to get it unless you have a friend with a good 3D printer. And although these model kits are time consuming and they could be quite difficult to make, I think they are worth it. At the end, you're gonna have a really cool train load. This is the only way you're gonna do it in a realistic way. There are some 3D printed Strykers out there, but they're gonna be overscaled and not as detailed. As for the channel wall flat cars, it could be good for loading up a military train. I got the Walthers and the Atlas one. The Walthers was actually lower than my expectations because their TTX logo is kind of faded and it's not as detailed as I want it to be. There's a bit of a roughness around some areas. There was like spruce, but I think it might actually be an older model because when I compare this Walthers box to my other Walthers box, it had like a different color packaging. The logo was like a highlighter yellow and the box color is kind of different, so it might be an older run. If you know why this is, let me know down in the comment section. As for the Atlas flat car, it is extremely well detailed, especially when you compare it to the Walthers. There's a huge gap difference between the level of quality and details. At first I was dismayed to install the grab irons yourself, but it turned out not to be hard, and I also have a drill bit from assembling a model kit. I do like how it's a different variety of flat car from my other Atlas flat car. I thought it would just be simple, just the channel walls are higher, that's it. But there are a lot of nuanced details which are different. As for the Kato Unitrack, I was actually surprised some packages it had 4 tracks instead of just 2, so that was a welcome surprise, and now I can use it to assemble a rail yard with the HV2. Before I had to assemble the switches in a different way, which wasn't exactly realistic as you'll see in a real life rail yard, so I'm glad that it worked out. And if you're wondering where I got this from, I got the Stryker and the Abrams tank model kits from panzerfox.de, shipped from Germany because that's like one of the only places they sell these. It's actually a really good website and I like their logo as a fox. And the flat cars and the Kato Unitrack came from lombardhobby.com. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This has been in development for quite a long time. If you do, make sure you hit that like button down below, subscribe if you hadn't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Entombed in my mind, can't seem to break away. Lost in time, thinking about better days. Do you ever get used to the pain? 'Cause I don't know if I can do this again. Now you got me wondering why you let me die alone inside. I died for you, I cried for you, I tried for you. Tell me why you left